Heyo, Duckies, Dice Fiends, welcome in. It is Tuesday, and that means it is time for the Table Talk Show. I know we've got Kato hanging out. Thank you, everyone, for joining. As always, I'm Kay. I am one of your hosts. Yeah, you could do them squats, David?
Absolutely
Kato
not.
demands pre-stream squats.
I physically cannot.
It is here. Lurking Rider, welcome on in, and happy belated birthday. Welcome
Yes,
in. It
happy
is
birthday.
Tuesday. We are here doing the talk show as we always do. Friday, allegedly, I will be over at Entropy Emporium playing Brandon for the Weird Wilds War. And I can't say too much else yet, but stay tuned because there's going to be another mini-series TTRPG in my future. And I know I've been teasing this. I'm going to have to walk it back. I was hoping Emergency Power Podcast Season 4, my Starfinder AP, would be out next week. It's coming out October. August, September. Yeah, October. It's coming out October. Final move, I promise. Season 4, final season will be out. And yes, David, it is Tuesday. But that's enough about us.
Also, y'all need to know the level of technical difficulties it would take to make Kay delay our project for an entire month, okay? Like, I have heard about this, and I am ready to go to war, okay? In Minecraft.
It's been an adventure. David, who the heck is you, and what the heck is we doing here?
I am boiling because it's 100 degrees here. I am also full of caffeine. But hi, I'm David, and this is the Chaotic Wholesome Tuesday Table Talk Show, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to meet your bestie in a bathroom in West Hollywood, how to be a better person, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity so that everybody can have a good time.
Hilaria, thank you so much for the resub. 17 months, that is a hot minute. We super appreciate. But we have a guest today, so you are not, well, you might be here to see us, but you should be more excited about our incredible guest, TTRPG journalist, and just all around knows who's who and what's up. Christopher, who the heck is you, and what the heck do you do that brought you here?
Hi, my name is Christopher Hutton. I am the founder and main reporter over at TTRPG Insider. We're a newsletter dedicated to the tabletop gaming industry, covering everything from small, big publications across the spectrum, interviews, coverage, trends, and all sorts of analysis. We're an independent outlet, but doing our best to help make sure people know what's cool in the space and help bring up-and-coming creators get their chance in the spotlight.
Thank you, Lurking Rider. Yes, I got to be a goth goat, and it was wonderful.
Right. Oh, the itchy wig. Got it. Yeah.
I played Wonder Home for the first time.
Ah, that explains it.
Yes, it was great. So yes, we are so excited to have you here. I know I mentioned this very, very briefly in our email chain before we got you on, but I nowhere near the level that you did, but I got to do a little bit of time as a TTRPG journalist, and I know how fascinating and complicated and burying, is that the right word? Just overwhelming that space can be. Because, are there a lot of cool projects? And, does everyone want and deserve to have their project? Well, not everyone. Most people deserve to have their project seen. But I can't imagine how many pitches and pitches and emails and things you get about, hey, please cover my thing.
It's definitely a lot, at least particularly compared to my past work. I've used to work in covering Washington, D.C., covering a lot of tech policy or breaking news. I've also worked in business tech journalism. But TTRPG, there's definitely an energy and excitement. People are eager, not only because I think they want to promote their passion projects, but they just want to get them in front of people and be like, hey, here's a cool thing I made, and here's why they think it's interesting as well. And it's always, I think, one of the aspects at least I enjoy the most is talking to these folks and figuring out, it's like, why do you think your game is worth my attention more than Dungeons and Dragons, Call of Cthulhu? Throw in your favorite game here. Because everyone's got a preference, everyone's got a style. It's both objective yet subjective, and like what excites you. And it's always interesting to engage with that, especially with designers who, they're so left-brained in like thinking is like this. I need my mechanics to work this way, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Nothing against them. It's what they are excited about is really the core of what I mean.
Yeah, like as viewers of the stream know, I tend to jive more towards crunchy systems. I don't want too much crunch, right? I don't want to play 3. I don't want to play 4. I don't want to play 3.5, right? I don't want that.
No one wants to play 4. It's okay.
Which is hilarious because Kay gets mad every time I make them do math. Every single time.
Math is hard, okay? I'm dyslexic.
Math is hard.
But I also I totally jive with the I really like learning a system because I enjoy mastery.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't want to play 3.5 or 4, but a little bit of mastery, a little bit of figuring out how I can play that system just releases all the happy chemicals in my brain. And so I've definitely talked to people where I'm like, oh, those mechanics are really cool. What's the intro? What's the, if your quick start guide, and I am specifically throwing shade, and those who know, if your quick start is a 31-page document, that is real and literal, then maybe it's not a quick start.
Right.
You need a little bit of intro. But yeah, figuring out what they're aiming for and what makes their system click is always really exciting. And can either be completely engrossing or oh yes, okay.
And I don't want to say this in a way to say they're wrong. Again, everyone comes to the table and has something they want. Some just want the grind. Some want to have moments of drama. So it's really a question of just what is it that brings you joy and how do they try to sell it, which I think becomes kind of the core question. And one of the interesting aspects, particularly engaging with indie developers, who is like, how do you convince someone who isn't part of your friend group, who isn't involved in this particular style of play? Maybe you are you really enjoy Shadowrun, which is known for excessive crunchiness, or Warhammer Fantasy. And then there's nothing wrong with that, but that is a very particular style of play. And if you're not used to that, then how do you communicate that to, my mom, who's doesn't play those games, which is fine. And it's how do you make that interesting to them and convince them it's not just have their, here's the Apple Beach Ball icon on your forehead as you're trying to process all that's going on there.
Usually. Lurking Writer wants to know, do you work alone or do you have a team?
Right now, it is just myself. This is a personal passion project, something I do on the side alongside my other work. So I do primarily publish this by myself. We are not as lucky to have a team as someone like Rascal News, who does have one and that allows them some very unique and very positive functionality. But right now, it's just me, myself, and I. So we're doing at least as best as we can.
I mean, I think you're doing great. Lurking Rider wants to know, what was the toughest hurdle for you to get started as a solo TTRPG journalist?
I think the biggest thing always is, so there's a lot of people in the creator space, particularly as we kind of engage with the conversation, of people who's like, we want to get attention, we want to get an eye on your products. This question of earning trust with both indie creators, but also the companies, because there's a large market of influencers, YouTubers and things who want to present, hey, you should give me product for free, or let me interview you. But what makes it worth talking to them versus talking to myself? And so it's about earning credibility and earning those relationships, especially because unlike somewhere when I was in Washington, D.C., where it's easy to get access to a senator, regardless of what party, I can't, go to the offices of Wizards of the Coast and be like, hey, come talk to me. Or might not be the same for smaller employers, especially those who are, there's such a small community. Like, a lot of people really don't realize most of these teams are 3 to 10 employees max and a ton of freelancers. It's a very intertwined community, and getting that trust and getting people to convince you, it's like, hey, it's worth their time to talk to me, that takes effort and practice. And I've had the luck of making some good connections who knew people who could help me kind of get that start. And that's honestly been one of the biggest struggles of kind of stepping into a field where I came from an entirely different industry and now have to operate within this one.
And like, we talk about this so much on this show, but like, be it like I'm building my own system and I want to get other people to play it, be it I want to be on APs.
Yeah.
So much of the space is network and community and trust and knowing that you are reliable and I don't necessarily want to say easy to work with, but professional to work with.
Yeah, and not a dick.
Yeah, the not a dick is so important and surprisingly rare sometimes.
Oh God, listen. For everyone out there, including everyone in chat who is not a dick, thank you, because you are so incredibly rare. Like, you just go outside, throw a rock, hit somebody, and that person is a dick. Also, I want to say, hearing that you used to work on the Hill, I could have an entire episode of the talk show just asking you about that. And I won't do that here, but know that I could.
Well, if there's anything you want to ask 1 or 2 questions, as long as it's not too off topic, I will do my best.
Well, now I got to figure out how to uncover political secrets and tie it to TTRPGs. But one thing that I've really been thinking about lately is because, like, I've been thinking about different systems and just there are so many free systems and so many inexpensive systems out there, and a lot of them are pretty complicated. And as someone who has not only been in front of a lot of systems but spoken to a lot of the creators of such systems, what would you say is the best approach to getting somebody interested in your system when your system is not like a simple, like, plug and play, take 5 minutes and glance over the rules, but like a more in-depth, like Kay was talking about, the 30-page quick start, like that sort of deep system? Like, what would you say is the best approach to convincing a stranger to play a system?
That's a question I'm still trying to answer for myself, to be honest, because I think I've seen a lot of people. It's like, hey, we want to pitch a Western system, or like a really good example is, you have all of these, we're going to call them setting neutral systems, stuff like Cypher, stuff like Hit Point Press has their upcoming shift, stuff like you have the basic role-playing engine from Chaosium, and it's like, why would you choose this one over that? And I think so much of it really depends on what you want out of the experience. What's kind of the, I'm going to call it the fantasy that you want to explore. Like, do you want to be hyper-powered? Do you want to be where, oh no, I rolled one bad roll and suddenly I'm dead? Like, it's really core about that fantasy and the relationship to the story that has to be communicated. And it's the question of how do you get yourself to determine, does this communicate that? If you can kind of get yourself out of your own head while designing that, which is what playtests are for to an extent. And those are helpful, but there's a particular mindset from a designer compared to me, myself, and the random game consumer who's like, you're showing me a thing. This sounds great. Look at that. Oh, I don't know if that math works. Or like, do people care enough about, like, does the math average out to be balanced, whatever the hell that term means?
Yeah.
I think it's really at the core is the fantasy. Are you able to fulfill what you want out of the experience, and are you able to have a good time?
Yeah. Welcome on in, Matt and DC. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Here's your tie-in, David. I want to come back to this, but I've got to derail us ever so slightly. Kato wants to know: have you played a TTRPG in a congressional meeting room?
No, sadly. I was not cool enough. I'm trying to think if I ever heard stories of that. Like, I know of a lot of, like, there's lunches, there's people who go there for religious meetings, there's people who just go there to, learn and sort of thing. I've never heard of people playing D&D within the Hill. And now
There's an infamous sex tape.
I don't know if you're joking or not, but I have never heard.
I'm 100. There's a dude taking a selfie and then who shot a video of him getting railed in a congressional office.
Okay, that I can believe. That I can believe.
Yeah.
I thought it was like they were doing that, but there also was like, look, there's like a GM screen in the background. I was like, hold on.
Well, now we know what to do. Listen, I'm planning a trip to DC now.
Oh, good luck. Good luck. Don't
right?
Not right now.
Not right now.
Yeah, so kind of bring it back. I was going to say, like, when I worked because I did a little bit of tabletop journalism, mostly they were like, oh, go cover all these board games. And I'm like, I'm not huge into board games, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the deep knowledge of a board game. I could dissect a TTRPG system, but a board game, I'm not as, but when I was doing games journalism, the flood of indie games that everyone wanted you to cover, and great reasons, like, it was actually quite challenging to figure out, which ones should I cover, especially when your inbox is completely full. So, I know how I have advised indie game devs of how to maybe catch the eye of a journalist with your cold pitch email. Do you have any tips, suggestions? And I promise this is going to come back to the congressional thing about how do you what tips do you have to do or to avoid to maybe hopefully get someone to consider covering your game?
That's still a question I'm still trying to answer for myself, because like as someone who's a little neurodivergent, neurospicy, I think about games differently than some people, and that's okay. So the question becomes, how do you sell them? What makes a game stand out? And some stuff's easy, big numbers, connection to an IP, something people always like, or it's like, hey, it's this meets this equals this, and it's like that makes an easy sale. I really do like. The unfortunate reality is I think TTRPGs struggle with the same issue that a lot of products do. It's buzzwords. You want to go throw OSR at someone, and they'll be like, that means nothing. Like, it sounds cool, but it's a term that has been used so much with a lot of historical context, but it also has been overused to the point of like, what does that mean? At least in my experience, I see it used to describe everything from, super dungeon runs that really do feel like old school first edition D&D to games that are based on extremely interesting Chinese mythology. And they're both, I don't know much about, the games are fine, but what is it that makes them different in this? It's just avoiding buzzwords and finding the core fantasy feels like the key of like, what is it that hooks me and makes me want to go play this or try this or pull my friends in? Because it's not just, I have to buy it. I have to convince the other people at my table to be like, hey, this is worth your time, to give it a whirl. And that can be hard, especially if there is a high learning curve. You have to give, what is the justified benefit of all that time? Are you going to put all the work on the DM? And I think that's more of a relational, communal issue that has to be addressed when dealing with a game rather than the game design. But game designers do need to keep that in mind as well, at least if in my limited perspective.
Yeah, and I found, so number one, if you're just wanting, and again, this leans more towards indie video games because there's not as much space that does this in indie TTRPGs. But like, if you just want a news coverage, like have have a subject line for your email that's actually interesting, that's
Yeah.
exciting. Like, don't be too obnoxious, right? But like, catch the attention. Like, hey, this kind of game does this. I think one of the best ways you can, and tell me if you disagree, because again, different people, different styles. Explaining like, hey, this is this kind of mechanic that supports this kind of gameplay, and this is how. Can really help me understand, like, is this going to be something? So if it's like this is a cloak and dagger political type system that is supported through this, as opposed to like this is a D&D alternative.
Right. Like, what are you telling me?
Yeah, I know it's a D&D alternative. The out there's a D&D alternative. Yeah, like what am I getting into? How can I, and especially if, you know, you're kind of genre locked, right? This is for steampunk.
Yeah.
Cool. I know my steampunk friends want a steampunk game. Whereas, you know, with like OSR has some bad connotations for some people, right? So you gotta figure out exactly who you're trying to hook and exactly what context do you have around that.
Exactly. I think the other element of that, and this is something that I'm like, designers who are way smarter about game design than I am, talk about this, how like TTRPGs are kind of weird because like we can fudge the rules and make can keep playing them. You can't do that with Monopoly or Risk or whatnot, or you do, and then the other player's like, "What the hell, dude? Okay, that's not cool. Stop stealing from the bank. That's. I understand you're from the break out the Wall Street thing. Stop it. Don't do that." But I think like it's TTRPGs exist in that weird space because it's like, how much do you need to allow the rules to modify what sort of story you're telling compared to like obeying raw? What is it? Read is written, I think is the terminology.
Yeah.
And it's
Rules is written, yeah.
because tables are just, you have so much flexibility. And I know I'm certainly not someone who is very, like, I don't stick closely to the rules for good or for ill. And I'm sure people will criticize me for that. I'm okay with that. But like, at the end of the day, it's really about what do you want out of it? Is it sticking coherently to the rules, or is it about the narrative experience or a crunchy, meaningful mathematical experience where you get to create something cool because you made the maximized whatever build?
Yeah. And like one of the things we were talking about, my GM for my home game, Modder, who did the Slaughter Knight and did the Doom tabletop, which everyone on the stream has heard too much about because I'm so excited about them. But like, he makes really good, tightly knitted up game design, right? And then he's like, cool, that feels bad. We're not doing that. Or, hey, your character has the special thing, so that particular thing doesn't apply to you when you do this, right? Because it's like, this is what feels good, this is what serves the narrative. And like, rules are great, but it's gotta feel good. If it doesn't feel good, what are we doing here?
Right. This whole experience is, I want this to feel like worth my time. This 4 hours where I sat across you and I rolled dice, this has to feel good. Whether that's through emotions or through mathematical success. Yeah. Either way, it has to be it should be a good experience. And if it's not, then maybe reconsider something.
So I was going to ask, like, from the political background that you've got, and Cato has asked this question and they're going to tie in nicely. Like, my first thought was, how are we getting this back to Congress? So with your experience in politics, you know, which game systems do you think best reflect how politics actually plays out, and would you actually want to play that?
Oh, that's such a good question. I don't have a good answer for this one.
That's
because
fair.
I think the question is it, do you want a game that operates like idealized politics where, you know, you have you operate through voting systems and you have people who are acting in inappropriate ways to find how the US Constitution and other regulations operate, or do you operate in the way which is a little more sleazy, a little more background kind of thing? My go-to, and this is just because this is probably one of my favorite games, is definitely, unfortunately, probably goes to Vampire the Masquerade, which is a game heavily built around politics and the relationship of the clans, the tribes, and the compromises, the absolute backstabbing, I think, because that's the closest thing I can think to something like House of Cards, which, when it came out, which the show was controversial due to its the primary lead actor and a lot of the legal claims. We don't need to go into that, but remember reading a lot of stories of like Washington being like, this is super accurate. This was like lawmakers being like, this is so on par. And that backstabbing energy, when played properly, fits very much the Vampire the Masquerade of power, fighting with power, and how the other factions or those who oppose it try to interact, not just the whole Camarilla versus Anarch thing, but just all the clans and everyone having their own agendas and compromises, and how do you pursue that to enable and protect your interests by the end of it. I think whether that's that feels like the most accurate thing to me, or at least what comes to mind. Perhaps there's something better, but that's the one I like at least.
Yeah, that sounds completely accurate to me. Kato, which is the reason I asked this, because Kato's also ties on. With your background in DC coverage, do your TTRPG sessions tend to have world politics goings on, or have you had players in the Situation Room?
That's something I run a vampire game on the regular, hence why it's probably one of the games I do. But something I do very explicit is try to avoid those events, because even in a year where there's as much going on, people, with the state of the government, I don't know what the show's policy on covering politics is, but, it's...
You cannot completely divorce what's going on. So it's like, no, we don't need to go on a full political rant, David, but we're not going to say, oh, we can't say anything at all because,
that's fair.
They're entwined.
I think I try to avoid it, simply to keep my players happy and comfortable. The version of the world I run doesn't have a President Trump or a Flannel Trump or something, just to keep things simple. It's based in this world, but that world's already dark enough with all of the chaos that's being told in that setting. Not that you couldn't do politics. You could absolutely. I think there's some fascinating stuff, but I think you have to have the right table to do that, because if you're not comfortable, say, playing out a story where you're having these questions of police power in DC, for example, as we're recording this now, like, if your table's not comfortable with that, I wouldn't want to run that, but it's certainly something I don't encourage. That's just my own policy for my own players' comfort.
I have a friend who's never played Vampire, and another acquaintance who played Vampire, and I was like, oh, I'll bet I can guess their clan, right? I'm like, I know, I got their number. And my friend's like, oh, I don't know anything about it. I'm like, okay, well, kind of the big moment in it was 9/11, right? Everything in the world of darkness changed at 9/11. And he's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, it could be too real if you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
Slight derail, but still, Matt Mimics and Misfits wants to know, do you think making DM copies come with keys for player copies can help with accessibility or affordability?
Can you repeat the question just so I understand it?
Yeah, if you DM copies books, do you think that it coming with keys to give players access to the material helps with accessibility, affordability?
That's such a good question. I would say yes and no. So from helping players play more, 100%. I think that's a good way to do it. If that is the primary focus, I think that becomes a little more complicated when you get into the question of ensuring the creator gets compensated enough for appropriate amounts. Digital copies are weird and stupid because I can create a billion copies of things for free, but if we want to make sure the creators are getting there enough time, we want to make sure they're getting paid. And so I would say if you wanted to do that, make their options where it's like you pay at a discounted rate, that make the mathematics work out where you get something for creating the player's guide, or create it in a format perhaps based in Creative Commons or community copies if you believe in the concept of community commons. I think that's definitely an interesting way to do it. It's just which of those do you want to balance? And not every player is going to care about whether the worker gets compensated, fortunately or unfortunately, but at least that would be how I would think about it.
Kato says I need to make a TTRPG where my players are post office workers and invite David to the table.
Look, I come from a long line of postal employees, and I had a job for 5 years that was adjacent to the post office. I worked at a box store that had personal mailboxes, and so I did the PO box thing, except it was private and not government. and I also did a ton of shipping, including through the post office, and was at the post office every day. So listen. When it comes to shipping, when it comes to everybody who wants to complain about government corruption has not spent a day working for the post office, because those are some of the hardest working, purest, most patriotic people. And for every like super lazy post office worker that you hear people complain about, there are 1,000 postal employees who are working their asses off to get you your shit every day. And the scariest police, now I've encountered the police, the LAPD and other different city PDs. I know, Kay, I'm sorry. And immigration, back when they were La Migra instead of ICE, the FBI, and the Secret Service, and the whatever the postal police are called. And the scariest out of all of them, and the US Marshals, but the most no nonsense, scariest motherfuckers are the postal police. Those motherfuckers do not play. They're all about
Also,
their business. They're not here to fuck with you, but they will get what they need.
thank you for your service, Julie. Welcome in, Lamia. Lurking Writer says, I'm reminded of the UK equivalent, The Thick of It, which only had its accuracy to UK politics criticized because it didn't have enough swearing in it.
My only thought, I was going to add to David's little thing about postage. I was just thinking,
Yeah.
I think, like, what if you made a Delta Green campaign of just postal workers?
Oh. That
Saying
ties in so nicely to, was it Men in Black 2 or 3, where Kay
Yes,
retired to work at the post office?
there was a second one because he got his mind wiped and he worked in the post office. They're all aliens. And that's exactly what came to my mind when you started talking, David. I was like, I just thought of that exact scene, and I was like, oh no.
Postal Inspection Service. Yeah, so I'm sure more folks in chat will have more questions, and it's great. But I want to make sure we take some time for you. You've done Gen Con recently. You're constantly getting emails about, hey, I'm working on this project's coming out, I'm building this, can you cover? What are some of your favorite projects in the space right now? Like, what are you excited about? What are you looking forward to? What do you want to try?
I assume you're talking about products that are new, whether they've come out this year or are coming out. Is that a fair?
That's fair, but also if you're like, I just discovered that, you probably don't know about this thing and it came out 5 years ago, but you should go play it right now. We want to hear that too.
Yeah, that's fair.
Absolutely.
So the three things at least that I am keeping my eye on, I think the closest right now, and I think a lot of people are understandably, Daggerheart seems to be the one that everyone's talking about the most. And I think that's justifiable, particularly with Gen Con. We had a huge announcement with, I think, Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford being involved heavily with that project. With the, we have a Romantasy campaign frame, their kind of way of setting up a world, a bunch of new resources. It's constantly updating, and we're seeing a lot of people who are very excited and very interested in it. So this is definitely the game I think has the most momentum behind it, and that a lot of people want to play. And I am very desperate myself to finally run a game. I think I played one shot like last Christmas, and that was the last time. And I've been looking at my book, and I'm like, soon, my beloved, soon.
Still haven't gotten to play it, so I'm like, I don't even know my opinion on it yet.
Yeah, I think that one's definitely got the most momentum. The other one that I'm interested in, I think a lot of people still are talking about, is Draw Steel, which has gotten some momentum. That one released its PDFs right at Gen Con, but oddly enough did not have a physical presence there. I think partly because they just didn't have enough product. MCDM, which is Matt Colville's company that published it, just doesn't. Perhaps I think they've done it in the past. At least I'm 80% sure I've seen them at cons, but like this year they just decided it probably wasn't worth it. They were probably just focused on making a book. Like, I get that. Yeah. But it released around that same time, and I think the other one that I'm interested in seeing how it moves forward, and I'm sure David will appreciate this, is Starfighter. I'm very excited to see where that goes from here, because we got the player core, we got a bunch of new stuff, and we have a video game in probably 1 to 2 years, I think, based on the estimate. Like, that should hopefully push some interesting momentum.
I am not a betting person, but I would have bet that we would never have a Starfinder 2E, because I'm like, it's too small, right? They're never going to put money into, we've got Starfinder 2E.
Yeah.
I can't play my character in it. I have to, which is fine because my game concluded, but I'm like, oh, I can't bring my character over to Starfinder 2E because they've changed the class so much. But I love the 3-action economy, and I love Starfinder.
Yes.
So like Starfinder with 3-action economy.
Yes, I have friends who are like evangelizing me as like, jump on the Pathfinder train, Chris. I'm like, okay, one day, maybe. Leave me alone. I got other stuff to do.
Like, I can't hear you over my stack of D&D books.
Listen. Unfortunately, I still do like D&D 5e, the 2024 rules.
Same.
I actively run it. Nothing against, I understand the criticisms of the system. And I'm very interested to see what they're going to do with, we have Faerun and the Eberron books releasing here later this year. They look very interested, and I'm very interested in where they hope to take it. As a market and industry, I understand people are probably tired of it, and I understand that, but it's still a lot of people find joy in it, and I'm all here for that.
I have a hot take. I have a very hot take.
Okay, hot. Burn it up.
D&D is not bad. The reason everybody's burnt out on it is because they've played it so much. 5e is the most successful edition of Dungeons and Dragons that has ever been released. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But that's because you've played like a lot of other systems. But out of a lot of so-called beginner systems that I have looked at, like 5 or 6, D&D is still incredibly accessible to someone who's never played TTRPGs before. Like, yes, look, D&D has enough problems with it that literally every charity game that Kay and I have run, we have built custom mechanics for it. Like in every home game I've run, I've been like, okay, you see these rules for D&D? We're throwing those out and we're substituting this one. Like we had the Matt Mercer rules for potions before Matt Mercer did. Like, it's like, it doesn't take 6 seconds to drink a potion. It just doesn't. It's a bonus action. Guzzle it, keep trucking. But there's a good enough foundation there, not just with the mechanics, but with the world, with their opening modules. Like half the people I know who played TTRPGs before the pandemic have played like The Lost Mines of Philander or what's the really racist one with the vampire? Strahd, yeah. The way they refer to the Romani in the game.
I believe they did eventually fix that with an updated version, but yeah, it was questionable at the time.
But like there's a reason that it's so popular, and it's not because it was the only one out there. It's because they released a really good one. The end. That is the end of my hot take.
Yeah, like it's also the one that like it's a shorthand, right? We want to run a charity game rather than, hey Rex, welcome in. Rather than asking people, okay, go learn this system. Like we're doing it in 5e. Right? Almost everyone knows 5e. And we know it well enough that if someone doesn't, it's like, cool, roll a d20 until I tell you otherwise, and I will walk you through the rest of it, right?
Exactly. And it's very interesting. I agree with you entirely, David, and I think that's very much communicated with Wizards of the Coast team, who I did get the talk, and one of the things I got talking to them at Gen Con was how much I think D&D really wants to make a game that can do anything. And whether or not D&D is a good system for whatever you want to run sci-fi, you want to go run Cyberpunk, please feel free to argue that. I don't care, but this is the vision that they're trying to present. It is as a core system that people can draw on. And I think it's fine to be like, it's not. I'm open to this. Go have those arguments, please do. Don't involve me. But it also is just such a common language. Like I can go look at the most random geeky store and they will have something referencing D&D because it's so cool. It's the cultural language that we can cling on to for talking about this really, really weird niche hobby that all of us play.
Yeah. Quick chat stuff. Lurking Rider says, CRPG Fallout New Vegas can be summed up thusly: never shoot a poster word roll. It will not end well for you.
Don't shoot the message.
DC says Draw Steel is fun. Got to play it in a
I
charity
heard.
game.
Actually, it's funny you were talking about fourth edition. People keep comparing Draw Steel to 4th edition, apparently.
Interesting. Do online tools alone for D&D 5e make it so open for so many people that it's hard to compete with? Look, I'm lucky enough to have an unlocked D&D Beyond account. It is the easiest character creation. Full stop. Like, now, if you don't have an unlocked D&D account,
Right. That's
It's more challenging.
Yeah.
It is.
No, absolutely. Demiplane's kind of competing, but it's slow. It's going to take a long time before I think it become a significant competitor. But I don't think it's trying to be a competitor. It's just we're the not 5e website,
And
and they're happy with that.
we all have my opinions on D&D 5e are not always one-on-one linked to my opinions on WotC and or Hasbro.
Yeah.
And who knows how long D&D Beyond might be the best onboarding option for Demiplane might overtake it simply by decisions that are being made by some people. Who knows? I don't know the future. Lurking Rider says D&D is to TTRPGs as Kleenex is to tissues. It's a brand name that the public's familiar with, and a lot of people say it when they just mean the latter. But it also can mean D&D.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's how I explained it to my mom. It makes it way easier.
And like, I also look. I have a very spicy opinion. And again, I'm with you. Have debates over what game is best. I don't think there's. I love Pathfinder and Starfinder. I love D&D. I just played Wanderhome. I'm excited to play more Wanderhome. I think, but I'm generally not the biggest fan. I mean, I've played Acton Cthulhu for years at this point. I enjoyed Into the Breach, which you don't even use dice; you use playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think there's best games for people. There's best games for a table or a setting. I don't think there's one and all. My biggest complaint about the I hate D&D crowd is every one of them screams, go play a Powered by the Apocalypse hack. And I'm like, you're complaining about hacking everything into D&D while hacking Powered by the Apocalypse into everything.
Yeah, I like Powered by the Apocalypse. I love like Monster of the Week. It's great. It's a fun game. At least I enjoy it. But yeah, it's like hacking thing. But it comes to that. What happened?
I brought my mouse down and I accidentally tapped another window or another scene.
R.I.P.
But we're back. So
yes,
sorry.
R.I.P. No good. You're all good. It's kind of like it's like, could you, for example, I was talking to the folks, I think at Monty Cook, who are absolutely lovely. And they basically kind of make the same proposal. It's like, yeah, you could play D&D, but you could also play Cypher, which you could, but maybe that's good for your table. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's really about personal taste. And there's a whole, again, please argue about if it's good or bad. I don't come at this from a game design point. I am more interested in the socio-economic and cultural elements of our hobby and how people relate through those things. I think that's more interesting to me. But the game design aspects are equally important, just not something I can be like, yeah, that's a good mechanic, ...
Yeah. And like, Rex just said, I have a friend who wants me to play an NPC in Pathfinder. And I'm like, please make this character for me. Look, I love Pathfinder because you can have a party of all rogues and every single rogue will play incredibly differently. Like you're so much customization, which is again incredible for a mastery player like me. But even I was overwhelmed with Path Builder. Y'all, if you're wanting to play Pathfinder 2e, and you need to start somewhere, go look at Path Builder. It's not quite D&D Beyond, but it'll help you so much. Welcome to the void, that short commercial break. Apologies. But like, David knows the first TTRPG I ever played, and everyone on the stream has heard this so many times, was Pathfinder 1e with only books. And I knew TTRPGs because I made RPG video games, right? So I knew the very basics, but like 4 hours into character creation, I was trying to build a level 4 druid or a level 5 druid. And like 3 to 4 hours into character creation, I still didn't know what a cantrip was, and I was afraid to ask.
We had 3 books, a tablet, and I had 2 Pathfinder character builder apps on my phone at the same time. And it took me, who had played before, like 2.5, 3 hours to make my character. And to put it in perspective for people who don't know, I made an entire 0-session game, which is just 5e with, like, I call them level 0, like, commoners, where your stats are straight 9s, so it's -1 on everything. And everybody uses a wand of magic missile, so you don't have to roll to hit. you just roll damage. But I made an entire like empty-brained zero session game to play for the purposes of having something to entertain people while they build their characters. Because building characters without like D&D Beyond or without a very intuitive character building system takes hours. Like Kay said, it was 4 hours, and I think it was like 7 of us, and I think 4 of us had completed characters at the end of that. And then people had to take it home
go back and remake it
and do it right.
I finally understood what a cantrip was. DC says the Demiplane folks are doing solid work. Disclaimer: I have worked for Demiplane in the past. Lurking Writer says I know of the folks who've worked for both D&D Beyond and Demiplane. Most of them no longer work for either, but are still rightfully proud of what they accomplished. Yeah, like tools are great. Make things easier to get into. Make things more accessible. The majority of my knowledge about Pathfinder pretty much comes from hearing about it from the lovely folks here. I love Pathfinder.
It's a good game.
3-action economy is just so much fun and so much creativity, and you can get real strategic with it. But it can be overwhelming, and I will not blame anyone who goes, I'm overwhelmed. Peace.
One of the great advantages to Pathfinder, which is also one of its great disadvantages, is there's a feat for that. Like, you want to be cool at backflipping? And there are so many things where in D&D, I'd be like, all right, let's build a custom thing for it. Like a player in one of my home games is like, I want to spin during combat. Like, I want to spin and cut things. And I'm like,
we do a full Garen.
Right. Like, we'll work that out. And we sat down for about half an hour and like talked out the mechanics and like figured out a system where that works. And I bet you, without even looking at Pathfinder right now, I bet you there's a feat for that shit. Like, there's a feat for fucking everything. Like, there's probably like a feat for like not only picking locks, but picking locks while hanging upside down like Spider-Man. Like, they have a feat for fucking everything.
Sounds about right.
And
sometimes
is queer as hell, and we appreciate that, but they definitely have a feet fetish.
Yeah.
But
and it's good because if you want to build your character to be very specific and good at a very specific thing, you can. But also, there are tons of times when I'm reading a game where somebody's like, I want to do this cool thing, and then I just do a little rough math in my head, and I'm like, okay, roll, we'll see if you make it. Whereas in Pathfinder, you're like, wait, there's a feat about this, which means there's a rule about it. I have to stop the game to look it up.
Cato says some of the best first times experiences in D&D I witnessed was one year I was able to work for Acquisition Incorporated. Pre-made character sheets, 10 to choose from, parties of 4, immediately paired with the GM for a set time limit on a one-shot. Yeah, like, the first time I played Pathfinder 2e, it was a pre-made character, and I was like, great, thank you. I'm playing a cleric. We're good. Now I just got to figure out this 3-action heal spell. What do you mean I have 1 heal spell? Oh. It's great. Sorry, catching up on chat. Please do not Google Paizo feet. Please. Please do not Google Paizo feet. I don't know what will come up. But I used to work for DeviantArt, y'all. Do not Google some of the things that I say. You know I have a black sense of humor. Why's it got to be
Clearly
black?
WikiFeet.
You're welcome, David. Yeah, okay, so the next thing, we talked about some of your favorite things, which, yeah, some of the things you're excited to see. I wanted to ask, and I know you mentioned this, like, where do you see the space going, right? Like, what does your oracle tell you with what you're seeing in trends and pitches?
I think the one trend that I do feel very confident commenting on is, I think so, in 2023, we had the original controversy around the OGL, and in response, people decided, hey, let's make some fantasy alternatives. I think we're finally at the end of that kind of era of people trying to create that, because this year we have Daggerheart, we have Drawsteel, we also have Legend and the Mist, which by Son of Oak Studios, but like that just released this week. We have the Cosmere RPG, the award, the record-breaking thing based on the Brandon Sanderson novels, which all of these are now out. And so, unfortunately, a lot of us kind of approach it, or at least I see in the online communities of, we want to see, it's a question of competition. Who's going to replace D&D?
Yeah.
And I think that's the wrong conversation. I think it's who's going to serve different audiences, because the people who can play Daggerheart are a different group than people who want to play Cosmere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. And there's still going to be people who want to play 5e 2024 edition. Like, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of data that offers us really good insight into how much D&D is selling. And people are going to keep speculating. It's a pedestal pet peeve, the amount of people who is like, D&D is dying. No, it isn't. Shut up. It's like, we don't have that data. I really wish we could stop unless we had like really good data, but we won't get it because that's not beneficial to Hasbro, just as it isn't beneficial to any of the indie publishers that we love. It's the same standard, honestly. But I think we're at the end of this era where people are trying to make something to replace D&D, and now we're like, let's go build stuff around things we like and keep expanding from there and keep moving forward and maybe figure out what's cool and interesting. Whether it's we make a new Alien game or like let's reboot Shadowrun. Like we just got a reboot of one of the Shadowrun rules today. Or let's make a game based on Planet of the Apes, which did very well, I think, last year. It's like, I think at least that's when it comes to funding what I think is going to be popular with the mass audience.
Yeah.
That's the biggest trend I can notice. Other stuff is just people trying to fix problems that other people have already tried to answer and fix. It's like, you were talking about character creation.
Mm-hmm.
Character creation, people are like, let's make a faster character creation. Great, you did that. But I'm sure someone's already tried to fix that problem 2, 3, 4 dozen times. And that's okay, because we need multiple solutions to figure out how people are going to do it. It's how innovation occurs.
Yeah.
If it's truly innovative, of course. Those are at least things that I've noticing. It's probably going to be a lot more, but a lot of these things just kind of become cyclical over time, and it'll depend a lot on various socioeconomic variables and what people are excited about as well.
And also, like, well, I understand people who have, the hate boner for D&D, WotC, whatever. Like, we don't actually want something to replace it, because replacing it wholesale just puts another monopoly on the map, right? We want there to be more options and more things so that we can sit here and argue, this is better than this. No, this is better than this. And it's not coming back to, well, the monolith, right? Like, more options is better. It makes everything better.
And there's some very good, or there's some analysis from like market researchers and things who estimate, I think in 2024, 2.2 billion was spent on TTRPGs in the market, which is pretty small. But like that money wouldn't be going to other people. It's D&D is the gateway, I think, to help get people through, whether it is Critical Role, whether it is Stranger Things, because we have season 5 coming up here this year. Those help hook people in and then get people excited. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I understand why indie creators are pissed off about that, and I completely respect it. But it is still kind of the hook until, something seriously, earthquakingly shatters the state of how we engage with this hobby. But if that happens, I have a lot of other concerns.
And Lamia says, annoyed about the Sanderson stuff because of the queerphobia and his support for the LDS Church and things like that. But yeah, look, I love Sanderson. I've actually done some deep dives into his change in stances around the gay and queer community, which is very interesting. But honestly, I'm just kind of mad at their pay rate for the writers they want to hire for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I didn't know they had a low pay rate. That's definitely concerning.
10 cents a word.
That's more than I've gotten paid for some assignments, but
That's
that's
fair,
not
but
great.
it's also far subpar for the TTRPG space. And if you're the most successful Kickstarter with a name like Sanderson backing you up,
yeah, you could afford to
doesn't
pay
feel
more.
good.
Yeah.
And hello, Femicon. Welcome for the follow. But yeah, it is like, I understand that, like, if people would stop spending money on that, then I would get money. And it's like, it's not actually how that works. Like, I understand that feeling, I understand that instinct, but like, that's not how these things usually work.
Yeah, they go
There might be an
spend it on
exception.
a different hobby, and that's okay.
Right. It's like I always talk about Star Trek, and I occasionally rant about
no.
Star Wars. But like, if you have like a small indie sci-fi TV series, like Dark is a brilliant show on Netflix. I think it's German. I'm confident it's German.
Yeah.
Most people I know, including most sci-fi fans I know, haven't seen it. It's brilliant. It's slow, but it's brilliant. But each and every one of those people is a Star Trek fan or a Star Wars fan or a fan of both. Like, you can do more than one thing. Like, if you look at Christopher's bookshelf, or if you look at Kay's bookshelf, you see that, yeah, there are a bunch of D&D books there, but there are other books there as well. And so, like,
My Little Pony, it's awesome.
right.
I've wanted to look at that one.
Oh, Kay ran a 2-shot, and the slapstick insanity of that game.
I can only imagine. Imagine.
Well, not only that, like, I'm gonna derail this ever so slightly.
Let's go.
But like,
Let's go.
Like, I got it going. Like, yes, ponies, LOL, because I unabashedly like My Little Pony. The later seasons, not so much, right? But the early seasons were good. They were feminist in the best way. They were freaking good and fight me, okay? And then they came out with TTRPG, and I'm like, LOL ponies, right? Yes, I want to. And I got Candace the Magnificent, Pan Stellar Encore, Urban Bohemian, Brian, and Eugenio DM Jazzy Hands to come play My Little Pony with me, right? Like, this is, what more could I ask for? Here's the thing. It's the character creation is not quite Pathfinder level,
But
it is
serious.
so granular. Here's what.
Isn't it? It's the Essence 20 system, I think, or
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just got the Night Vale version of that, and I'm like, oh no.
Okay. And like, you literally you can play campaigns from level 1 to level 20. And at level 20, you become an alicorn. Like,
Damn.
it is, the backgrounds are so granular. Like, you could have a bookworm background, right? But then you have to pick, are you a magic bookworm? Are you a history bookworm? Are you a nature bookworm? Like, it is so granular. Here's what I need you all to understand. Dungeon Master's Guide, right? We know Dungeon Master's Guide, right?
It's a big boy. It's a chunky fucker.
This is not an insubstantial book. And I love it. I'm done now.
Yes.
But no, it is joyous. And the fun thing about it, too, is the adventures, they frame it. Yes, Twilight Sparkle absolutely wrote the game. The fun thing about it, too, is they frame it like your character, it's less that your characters are heroes, right? It's more like someone needs help. Something in the community isn't working and we need to fix it, right? So it feels so community, which is so right for the setting. And one of my goals is to make my horror GM play it with me so I can watch him absolutely destroy the world of My Little Pony. That's all I want, is
Good
to
luck.
see how he twists
Godspeed.
all of this. It's going to be
Godspeed.
amazing. Like, one of the darkest people I know playing a My Little Pony TTRPG, who's already a Chaos
absolutely.
Gremlin when he's in the player seat. Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm so excited.
Anyway, back to David, what he was saying.
Yes.
Or that way.
Just so like, I have complaints about Stranger Things. One of which is not everybody is smoking, and anybody who was alive in the 80s knows that everybody had a fucking cigarette in their mouth. Like, quit playing with me. And 2, there's not nearly enough wood paneling in all them fucking places.
Okay,
because
that I can
again,
agree with you.
if you lived in the 80s, there was wood paneling fucking everywhere. Everything
The
had that
80s was
same
drab.
like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
80s was
Oh, God.
drab, and they pull it from the arcade. Like, they pull all the colors from the arcade. It's like, no, it was drab. We went to the arcade to have some goddamn color in our life.
and then like, you know, I got a lot of complaints about Stranger Things, not limited to the fact that it took 10 years for 5 seasons of like 8 episodes a season or something like that. Like we have like 100 episodes of Game of Thrones in half the fucking time. Like, quit playing with me. But the fact that it increased everybody's interest in tabletop gaming, period, great. The same thing with Critical Role. Like, I have complaints about the latest announcement with Critical Role, but also ultimately I'm like, y'all do your thing, because it brings more people into the space. And I hate to use this phrase, but it trickles down to other systems, because like I said, 5e's been out for more than 10 years now. People are quote unquote tired of playing it. So instead of just not playing tabletop anymore, they go and find other systems. And they start off with, well, if you like D&D, you'll like this. And it's like, if you're sick of D&D and want something completely different, then play that. And that opens the door for a lot of, not only a lot of indie creators, but seeing that excitement means that properties that you love then open the door for making a TTRPG. Like, I love Doom. I've played every single Doom game except for the latest one.
Dark
But
Ages,
that's because I haven't finished Doom Eternal yet. And I know that it's not a sequel, it's a prequel, but I'm still gonna finish Doom Eternal first before I play Dark Ages. But I've loved all of the Doom games. I remember trying to install Doom 2 on a 486 back in 1994. But they have a tabletop game now. And if it wasn't for Critical Role and Stranger Things, would Doom have a board game? Probably not. Same thing with Dark Souls. I love Dark Souls. I discovered with Kay that I actually like board games, because before all I played was fucking Monopoly. And believe me, the way my brain exploded when someone was like, oh no, this game was designed to be awful. It was designed to make you hate it. As a point about capitalism. I'm like, oh, that's why I hate this fucking shitty, terrible, awful, disgusting game. Motherfucker, get your goddamn hat and thimble off of my fucking table. Anyway.
Also, I'm fairly sure your love of board games spawned from Cato. I was just a passenger.
Listen.
Cato and
but
Dane.
You're responsible for many of the things that I love in life right now, okay? And yes, Cato and Dane, also thank you, because I went out and got my own copy of House on the Haunted Hill,
or House of the Hill.
Ooh, good choice.
But listen, fucking love that game. It slaps. It's fantastic.
One of my favorites.
But those things made space for all of these other companies or all these other IPs to roll out a tabletop version of their IP. And I think that's really cool. I remember playing a Star Trek game, a Star Trek The Next Generation game on PC in 1995. And if people didn't love Star Trek, if people didn't love Star Wars, if Star Wars didn't have video games, then Paramount and whatever company owned Star Trek at the time wouldn't have rolled out a video game. And some of my fondest gaming memories are from fucking Star Trek games. Let the bigger franchises and the bigger things generate excitement from the general public to expand what companies are willing to dip their toe into.
Hey, nerdy adoptee, welcome on in. My sibling from Wonderhome. My sibling ? Yes, maybe, no, yes, But yeah, and again, I completely understand. Look, David knows, I have strong opinions about various things in pop culture. And there are parts of pop culture that, I would love to never hear from again. But it's also I recognize that pop culture thing that I don't like rolled into being this other thing that I like happening. So fine, I'll take it.
I'm curious, actually, David, because as you touched on it, I'm not sure if I'm opening Pandora's box or not with this question. Merely the Critical Role Campaign 4. It sounds like you've got an opinion on that. And again, I might regret asking this, but it was recently announced last week. So I'm at least mildly curious.
Okay. So ultimately I have two problems.
Okay.
And one, I understand why they did what they did. So there's a lot of discussion about the fact that they decided to go with D&D instead of Daggerheart, when Daggerheart is their flagship property. But it's would you have a long-standing relationship with the big granddaddy in the space? Don't shit on that. I understand that Critical Role as a property makes millions and millions of dollars, and that's great, but you still don't punch Big Brother in the mouth. Like don't. And so I do not sweat them at all for doing that. However, my main problem with the Critical Role Campaign 4 announcement is the lack of diversity at the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's Abria. And for one, I love Abria. Hey y'all, I owe you an apology. I spoke without knowing. I wasn't fully informed about the racial diversity of the Critical Role cast, but thanks to chat, now I know, and going forward, I will do better. They have Lewis and Robbie and Alex in addition to Abria. So thank you, chat, for educating me. I also made some comments that were really out of line. I apologize for that as well. And I don't want comments like that to detract from my respect for the performers who work for Critical Role. Something like that won't happen again. As you know, accountability is important to us, and that includes accountability for us. I am happy to admit when I am wrong, and I am happy to apologize. Sorry for interrupting the video, and thank you again. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this last week. I have a lot of respect for Matt Mercer and Ashley Johnson and most of the Critical Role crew. And I understand that they're just a bunch of white people who are all good friends who hang out and play together and work together. Like, I recently played a game where everybody on the Critical Role cast was a voice actor in the game. Like, they play together, they work together, they're this like own little thing. Like, I get it, that's totally fine. But just like there were social concerns and a social evolution from Critical Role Campaign 1 to Critical Role Campaign 2, I think at this point it has gone on long enough whereby there needs to be not just a racial evolution, but an overall inclusiveness evolution of it. Because when you have a campaign and it's like 12 people, 13 people or something
13,
like that,
yep.
and you got one black person. And
I mean, you do have Robbie Damon, who I believe is Hispanic, but your point still understand.
Yeah.
But like you have one Hispanic, you have one black person, and it's table of 13 people. And I understand
What's
that like
his
6,
name?
7
Who played
y'all.
the paladin in
Luis Carrazzo, I don't know if he might be. I don't know enough about him. I won't comment there.
I believe he's got, but again, it's like you got it's a very small number, and then you bring on what, 5 new cast members, and 2 of them are white when you've already had an all white table.
Yeah.
And like
Columbia, thank you.
And having been in the space for like we've been doing this for like 4 years now or something like that. But having been in the space for 3 or 4 years and having mostly been in the queer side of TTRPG, and having heard about and seen how specifically like Black people and other people of color have been treated in the space, and also considering how incredibly well skilled a lot of Black performers are, it's really a soft lob over the plate to hit this one out of the park. And I'm not saying that 70% of the main cast needs to be Black, but no one. They asked Ginsburg, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, how many women do you think should be on the Supreme Court? And she was like, all of them. And the reporter gasped, and it's like, no one gasped when the Supreme Court was all men. But I haven't seen an all women table from Critical Role. I haven't seen an all POC table from Critical Role. And they may have had an all women table at Critical Role, but I haven't seen it, which means it hasn't. If it did happen, it wasn't promoted necessarily that well. Because I'm not a Critical Role devotee, but I still hear about most of their productions. And when I see way more diversity and way more inclusion in Dimension 20 than I do in Critical Role, who are supposed to be the leaders in the field, it makes me question who's sitting in on those meetings where those decisions happen.
Mhm.
Because it's not just, oh, you need to have more token people to fill up the space. Because like I said, Abria is there. And again, I don't mind her doing what she does because she worked incredibly hard and she had to be incredibly talented to get where she is. But with Dimension 20, as someone who is Black, I can see that there are decision makers in Dimension 20 that at least have an idea of what a intersectional experience is like, whether it is woman or queer or BIPOC or whatever. And I really don't get that sense from Critical Role. Like it really feels like, oh, well, we should have some people. So we invited like one Latinx person and one Black. Check, we're done. And you know, like congrats to them for doing what they're doing and having the success they have. But what they're doing isn't going to speak to me. And I feel like our communities, whether it is queer or BIPOC or strictly Black, is really underserved. And like I said, it's just a big missed opportunity to include people in the space. And like other people have said, and I know I've been going on long, but last point. Part of the importance of it is because they are sort of the thought leaders in the space. It is important to demonstrate that this space is for all of us, not just for the safety of people who look like me, but to also court our dollars. Like there are restaurants in Los Angeles that either are or were Black owned that then took a hard right-wing stance that then closed their doors because Black people stopped coming. Like our monetary base is an important part of the economy, especially discretionary spending. And so, like, you know, I know tons of Black people who were bullied growing up because we were nerds, anime nerds and goth nerds and all. And it's like we got adult money now and we can make adult decisions with our money. And if we don't feel included in your space, we're not going to spend money there. And part of our point with this channel for Kay and I is intersectionality and inclusivity. We want everyone to feel safe and included in this space, including white guys, including Black girls, including they thems. And if you're not signaling that to us, then you're not going to get our money. And who turns down free money?
Nerdy
Thank you for coming to my TED
adoptee.
Talk.
We appreciate your TED Talk. Nerdy adoptee says exactly. There are so many BIPOC performers out there. They could have done more with this. Lurking Writer says there was an all PSC table, Honey Heist 3. But again, it's a one shot.
Yeah, they definitely do a lot more between Darrington Press and some of the stuff they put on Beacon. You definitely see a bit more diversity with those, but like you said, that doesn't get as public facing. So
Yeah.
it's an absolutely understandable criticism, certainly an area to struggle with. But at the same time, I also kind of understand it's like disrupting the main 8 casts would have some interesting implications. Would have been a good idea, bad idea. That's up to them. But they definitely could have. Theirs is an area where they could have probably improved a little bit. I did also want to confirm Luis Carrazov is Hispanic. So,
like effort was made. Was it like anyone who has, especially though, I think I've said it on stream, but those who've been hanging out in the Discord know, I have said since the end of campaign 2, start of campaign 3, I've been like, they need to split. When campaign 3 was coming out, I'm like, they need to split the party, right? They need to have two or three different parties, right, where they can have different people. Because no one wants the main cast to leave, right? But if they will split the party and have them interweave and leave and do different arcs, then you can do all of that. So when they announced this West Marches, I was like, I got this. I at least got that right. I was 100% convinced they were going to do Daggerheart.
I was too, but I also see the case for 5e. Like, they can have their stuff and eat it too, because people like both.
Well, and again, one of the big things they referenced, I think you even were quote tweeting it, it's like player familiarity. And that's absolutely fair. I do, though, like, again, I haven't played Daggerheart yet, so I'm not sure. I can't speak with any authority, but there is, like, as someone who hasn't played it, right, I'm having a moment with, like, it's interesting that they built this game specifically to be more narrative, specifically to be a thing that would lend itself more to streaming. But you're not betting money on that. Now, you've got Beacon. You're obviously going to be doing a whole bunch of other things, but it's interesting that you're not using your flagship for your flagship. But also WotC money, because they got WotC money for that.
If WotC paid me $1 million to run D&D on my stream, guaranteed I'm gonna be running.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why wouldn't you? And again, Perkins and Crawford, while a lot of the fans try to imply there's tension, you go talk to them. They love each other. They're so friendly. Like, they don't want to fight. They're like, good job, Darrington Press. Good job, Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
And whether that's just professional courtesy but I do think there's legitimate friendships between a lot of them too.
I've spent a lot of time in and around the space, and like, there is a corner of people who are hyper competitive, right? In a not healthy way. But the majority of people are like, go make something cool. No, we want you to succeed. How can we cross promote? And the same thing is true in the AP space, right? Like, the number of people, when I run charity games, I'm like, give me advertisements that I can put in the pre and post and break reel so I can promote what you're doing. Because if I'm only out for myself, I'm not going to get anywhere. And the same is very much true in the TTRPG space,
Well, that's something. If I can turn the question interview back on YouTube, since you both are kind of in the AP space, this is something I am always trying to get the perspective of people who actually like actively make this stuff. Is the question of, do you think the space is getting too saturated with AP? Because like, I just keep seeing shows come out, and some of them do stand out, do something really unique, whether it's through the identity of the players or unique rule sets. Others are just like, we're friends playing a game, and sometimes they're good. Sometimes it's just like, okay, you made that. Good job. So it's like, I'm curious about that take from you guys.
So, the We Are Friends Playing a Game has been around since Critical Role. Critical Role started, and every, like, I think it hyped up after it went to 11 after Critical Role, because all of a sudden and I say this with love, every beardy white guy table went, oh, if we just turn on, it's just friends playing games. So if we just turn on cameras, then we're just friends playing games, and it'll have the same success as Critical Role. That does not. You and your friends playing games at a table are not a bunch of trained, highly professional voice actors who have an understanding of character arc and performance and storytelling that these people have ingrained in them, right? As I throw things, friends at a table is not going to sell your AP. Are there too many AP streams? Are there too many small-time streamers playing random video games? Yeah, it's saturated. It's always going to be saturated. Now, I think the more interesting question is, like, what makes one successful, and or how do you make one stand out? And this is where my personal take, and I don't know that I speak for David here, my personal take, okay, how do you stand out? Art is going to make your stuff stand out. It's the same thing for Kickstarter. If you want to run a Kickstarter for anything and you don't have art, it's not going to succeed. Some really terrible TTRPG Kickstarters have funded and blown past the funding because they had incredible art. The system itself was garbage, right?
Ooh, yeah. There was a group of people that approached us, and we fucking hated their guts. They were fucking terrible ass people, and the art was so goddamn gorgeous, motherfuckers. I hate you so much. You got the best artists to make the coolest shit. Yeah,
and DC says, like, you also need amazing background people like producers. For no reason at all, says DC Lasser, producer to the stars. But that's also true. Like, it's the same thing I say to anyone who wants to start out streaming video games. Your audio is more important than your camera. Right? You have to be listenable. I firmly believe that, okay, one-shots, they're kind of whatever. You can throw together a one-shot charity game and get eyeballs because it's charity, it's one-shot, it's mayhem. It's not that hard, right? It's really not. Like, yes, it's hard to get the technicality set up. Streaming TTRPGs is difficult. Podcasting TTRPGs is difficult. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes skill. For live streams, it takes a hell of a good computer and a really stable internet, there are definitely logistical challenges there. But I think we talk all the time here about session 0 for your da-da-da-da-da, but like, you have to make sure that your players are on board with everything, right? They have to understand the setting. They have to understand, and this is my problem with a lot of games start up and they're like, okay, you know, we've got this fantasy setting. They're going to bring in their characters and we're going to sandbox it, go. Which, yes, if you're Matthew Mercer and you have that table, you could probably pull it off. But it really helps to be like, here are the pillars of the game. Here's what we're going for, right? Here's how, and even with, I'm rambling a little bit, and I'm sorry if this is disjointed, but, you know, neurospicy. Even with Black Dice Society, B. Dave Walters said, I tell people you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to make a decision. And for the narrative, I need you to go towards the mountains, not towards the ocean, right? Like vague statements like that. Because, y'all, it's not fun to watch people sit around for 30 minutes trying to decide what to do. It can be funny, right? But that's things. You have to remember that an AP is a production. An AP is to entertain an audience. Hey, Ribbonanza. Look, not rambling. I say you can't ramble. You got to be on point in an AP while rambling in my answer. But I think you have to think about what actually makes a good production. From, is my overlay clear or too busy? I have seen some APs where I had to back out because the overlay was just chaos. Audio has to be
Or the
clear.
box was so small that you couldn't see the people.
Yeah, your performers are your stars. It's not your overlay. Let people see, give as much screen space as you can to your performers. That's my personal overlay pet peeve. Beg for everyone, highlight your performers. Your audio is the most important thing because most people aren't going to be looking at the TV as much as they're just going to be listening. And I think you all have to figure out, how do we all row in the right direction? Have a clear idea of where you want your characters to go. Because I was in an AP where there was a great big surprise twist that I was 100% not on board for. It was a thing I had no intention of playing out. And actually something I straight up didn't want to explore. And it took a lot of work, like negotiating with the GM, because I was like, if this is a problem, if it has to be this thing, then I will gladly step away so that you can tell the story you want to tell. But the premise that you set up was not the story that I came here to tell or to play. And that's before you get into table chemistry.
Yeah.
You know? I talked a lot. David, do you have an
Yeah.
opinion?
I have two real answers to the question. One is, I think a big problem with the space is the sort of fractured nature of it, the like insular nature of it, because like there'll be a channel where I'll click on it and they'll run 3 APs in a year, which, to be clear, running a like 6-session AP is a lot of work and a lot of prep. And so the fact that they're chewing out 3 of those in a year is crazy. But I'll click on the first one and it's 6 people, and then I'll click on the next one and it's the same 6 people, or it's like 5 people and 1 new person, and then I'll click on the next one and it's 4 of the same people and 1 of the other people from before, and then like another like new person. It's like there are these pockets in the TTRPG space, especially our side of the TTRPG space, where it's just like the same like 8 or 10 people recycled over and over. And I really feel like there needs to be more cross-pollination, because because a lot of people a lot of audience members and fans in the space are fans of a player or of a GM, and they'll watch whatever they do. And you really need that cross-pollination so that person who is a fan of A can then become a fan of B, and then increase the overall productions that they watch and participate in and pay money to.
Backing that up, look at what Critical Role and Dimension 20 have done for their cross-pollination. Look at Dimension 20 bringing in drag queens and wrestling WWE superstars.
I forgot they did the wrestling episode.
And And my other big complaint is if so like, you know, Kay and I, we both complain separately about clicking on a stream and it's a table full of white guys with beards and t-shirts. And I said it before, I'll say it again. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. And I will sit and watch for half an hour. But when I click on your next production and it's the same 6 white guys, and then your next production and it's the same 6 white guys, it's like, okay, I'm gonna need to see something besides these same 5 samey looking dudes. And there are people who love to play TTRPGs and people who are performers. And in order to be in an actual play and have that actual play be successful, you need to be both. Like, Kay is an incredible performer, has been to acting classes, has been to improv classes. Candace, who y'all have seen on the channel, is not only a working voice actor, but also has training. And I don't consider myself a performer, but I have formal paid money for acting training. And I am, or at least was, a professional actor. Like, someone paid me money to be in front of a camera. And that's looking like this. So, like, you know, even someone like me who shows up in an actual play, like, I have experience and knowledge regarding being in front of the camera. And circling back to Critical Role and Dimension 20 and Brennan Lee Mulligan and Matt Mercer. Matt Mercer is not only like decades of experience in voice acting, but also studies his craft, like reads books on dialect. Brennan Lee Mulligan has a long history in the improv and theater acting community. These aren't people who just played a lot of TTRPGs and then immediately thrust into stardom. These are trained actors and performers. And that doesn't mean that you need to go and spend thousands of dollars at like the Groundlings Comedy Club or anything like that. But there are tons of things you can look at online that isn't just watching Critical Role to increase your ability to perform. Like, I even have friends now who are actors, and I'll help them run lines. And I've had 2 of them say to me, listen, maybe you should be doing this instead of me because of how you're delivering these lines. And I'm like, oh, for one, you're hot, you need to be on stage. And for 2, you care about this, you want to do it, so you need to be on stage. But like, there are skills beyond knowing the rules of the game and understanding your story that you have to, if not master, at least get a grip on to make it interesting. Because, and another thing that Kay and I talk about, because we're playtesting a bunch of things, is the difference between a home game and a streamed game. And a streamed game isn't just people sitting around having fun, it's a performance. You're supposed to entertain. And if you, the one sin that you can have in an actual play is being bored. And if that's bad audio that makes you boring, if that's, you know, having poor lighting with your camera, like, you know, like this, like whatever makes it so that someone's like, I don't feel like it, then that's the sin. You could be offensive, you could be terrible, you could be a jerk. There are tons of jerks in the space. Like, you don't have to be a good person to be interesting and entertaining. All you have to do is be entertaining. The end.
So all I took away from that is that the AP player should be hot. Got it.
Listen, there is a reason that so many AP people that you know are also gorgeous people.
Valid.
But those gorgeous people also put in the work to be charismatic. Because
Absolutely.
as someone who used to work down the street from a modeling agency and who had models come into my place of work every day, most pretty people are not interesting. They are dull, boring, soulless creatures, which you could say for your average person. But if you meet a pretty person who's also really charismatic and really talented with performance, that is not just them looking good. That is conscious effort and learning that they put into doing what they do.
Absolutely.
I'll also say too, you have to convert people. You have to, just like you have to convince someone to cover your TTRPG, you have to convince people to come watch your stream. So you have to have an elevator pitch for what is your AP, right? Before you even figure out, is this entertaining? Like, in one sentence, you have to say, you should come watch this. Why? Right? What makes it unique? What makes it interesting? You know, Mental Lamia has witty nihilism, where it's a bunch of mental health professionals who play a game and then break down the psychology of what happened in that game, that session. And that's amazing, right? That is different and something that's not normal or common in this space. If it's, you know, as we said before, friends at a table is not going to sell it anymore. Yes, David Lubeck obviously had to step away. Did that actually answer your question, or did we just...
It went to probably a little further into some interesting... All of that is very interesting. It probably did not answer the question as directly as hoping for, but I think it was hopefully beneficial to the listeners, and I'm sure it sounds like probably stuff you guys have talked about before, based on the passion that came through.
Yeah, it's a tricksy thing, right? Because, like, what is the one thing that makes the thing successful? It's really one thing, you know? But yeah, figure out what you're doing. Figure out why people should watch it, and figure out how to explain why people should watch it in one sentence or less.
Yes. It's unfortunately all about sales, as much as I hate that, because I am like, I can never do a sales job, but then I realized, oh God, so much is based on sales, and I hate it.
Yes. And Nerdy Adoptee David is usually thirsty on Maine, so, you know, we love him for it anyway. Also, the other sad truth is, you have to be able to make short form content to promote your stuff.
That is a necessity now.
I hate it. I hate short form content, but I know how to make it.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe that'll die off, you know, if TikTok, you know, eventually does actually get banned. Maybe, possibly, we still don't know. But, like, because I was talking to another journalist, is like, you have to make short form content. I'm like, that's great, but it also might not be legal sometime in September. And I'm like, I have no idea.
YouTube Shorts.
No, that's
and
true.
Those embed
They're not as
directly
fun,
into Blue Sky. Yeah.
Those are not as fun.
Yeah. We are nearing the end, at the end of our time. Is there anything else you wanted to make sure you talked about, promoted, mentioned? What can we do?
Nothing, I think, other as well. Obviously, we touched at least, I think, on the biggest news of probably the last couple of weeks, thanks to David. So I'm happy with that. Other than that, I just
I do have a question that I've been sitting on for like an hour.
Okay, let's do it.
If you had to give a piece of advice to someone who wanted to come to you to promote a game or land an interview or interact with you in any way, what's the one thing that you'd say don't do? Like, what's the thing that you hate most that people come up to you?
Lord. I think the biggest thing, and like, I'm very open. I'm happy to talk to a lot of people. I try to be as friendly, as approachable as possible. You're like, hey, I want to run a thing, you know, come to me. That's great. But at the same time, I think the biggest thing is, like, just the existence of a product does not make something worth my attention or the attention of an audience. That's why, if you look at a lot of our coverage, we focus things on Kickstarters or news releases or historical events, things that are timely. Just because you released a product 4 years ago doesn't mean it's worth my time. Not because it's a bad product, but just because there's only so much time, and attaching time-based things helps people be interesting. And just because a product exists doesn't mean it's worth my time. Maybe it's worth your audience, but I unfortunately have to sleep. And so I can't read every single game or talk to every single person as much as I would like to in this space, which is smaller compared to video games or board games. And good Lord, those people have so much crap to cover. But, you know, recognize, you know, sell me on Wyatt. Have an elevator pitch, I think, at the beginning is probably the biggest thing I would always recommend. And if you don't, then, well, we'll see.
And I will just throw in, be polite. Don't be demanding.
Always be polite.
Because as we always say here, right, no one owes you their time. Especially not if you're asking for their help.
Indeed.
Just be polite. I know, David, you have the links. We're going to throw Christopher's links in chat. Again, please go support indie TTRPG journalism. Go subscribe to the TTRPG Insider. Follow Christopher on Blue Sky. Go do all that good stuff because if we don't support journalists, then they're not going to be doing journalism.
And don't just support me,
It's
support
important to
Support Rascal.
journalists.
Support, yeah.
Support Rascal, support places like Gaming Trend, which I know Kay used to work for, the Fundamentals, all these people, they are fan-run organizations. They don't do the exact same thing as I am, but they deserve just as much attention and love if you have the time, even just the eyeballs. It doesn't cost you anything than like a couple of seconds to click on a link. It means a lot to the journalists, and I know when I talk to them, they really appreciate it. But especially subscribe to me because I'm biased and because I think I'm cool.
And if you want other bigger spaces to cover more TTRPG stuff, or if you know a place that covers TTRPG but you feel like they cover too much D&D and not enough indie stuff, comment on those articles. Comment on the indie. The more you promote, the more you shout, that makes it easier for them to justify to their editors to let them write these stories and promote these things. That is the attention, clicks, and views on ads are what makes this thing churn. So go support indies, go support journalists. Christopher, thank you so much again for being here, for taking the time. This was a delightful chat. Thank you for following us on our rabbit trails and our rants. We are not unknown for them. I did warn you.
Listen, I've handled worse. It's okay.
And we will have to dive into Centaur accessibility at another time.
I'm going to hard pass on that one.
Rex has some fascinating things, but
oh god, yeah. Oh, the
Paige does not love the comment section. If you are not paid to go into the comment section, don't go into the comment section unless you're saying something nice. As a community manager, I'm the tank. Don't go into the comment sections. Let me tank that for you.
Yeah.
So as always, thank you again, chat. You are all amazing. Thank you, Nerdy Adoptee, Wizard Styles, and that for the follow. Thank you, Larry Storeforge, for the resubscribe. Thank you, everyone, for all your questions, all your sharing, and for researching stuff for us while we're live and chit-chatting. We appreciate y'all fact-checking us. We need it. Fact-check people. Normalize fact-checking people and accepting those fact checks without throwing a fit, because, gods, we need that right now more than ever. As always, please find me Friday over at Entropy Emporium playing the Weird Wilds War. And we will see you next time. Be kind to yourself. Be excellent to others.